So hello, me with no makeup and everything else. Just kind of testing out how this video is gonna work. This new setup, making sure I don't have a bunch of garbage in the background. You can see some of my art supplies and some of my artwork, but that's about it. I've kind of been running around cleaning the house, doing all that stuff. Got kind of my room rearranged and everything else. But wanted to share an experience with you. There's some kind of assumption that all artists or film directors or, producers or something, in the creative arts is we're all crazy. Anyway, and then you combine that with the starving artist myth, which really isn't a myth. Okay, if you're stuck in a position where you can't make sales or sell your work, you really are subjected to the starving artist thing. And kind of went through it. I'm like really shocked. I've been in business since I was a little kid. Basically, if I wasn't working for my parents, I went out and got a job when I was younger. And I've always been in management, always been in business, but I didn't really combine them until I actually got the management position in a portrait studio. So, it was like the best, right? Finally, I combined, this business sense with, art. And I was like really content, really happy, really pushing my boundaries, learning new things. And in the scheme of things, what I was doing was way easier than trying to push this internet thing, and I was listening to, I'm a big believer of the internet. I always have been. So for me to go back to the real world and go, you know what, it just isn't cutting it. I want to figure out why it isn't cutting it. Because there's a lot of people on here selling pipes and dreams, but they're not necessarily telling you how to do it. I mean, a lot of these videos start, how to do this, how to do that, and you watch them and you're going, you didn't tell me anything. And this might be one of those videos, but I will tell you there's a big difference still today from the real world to, it's not completely going full blown on, there's some that can use it to their advantage right at the top of the scale. But, how do I put this? I had to walk back into the internet with my portrait studio that was thriving. And I had to stop interacting online. I had to stop worrying about social media and all that. I had to go back just to the basics. So I was being trained on how to sell art, basically, which I knew how to sell a house, an apartment, paint job, some construction work. I mean, I knew how to do all those things, but I didn't really, I'll sell you some gas, something retail, t-shirt, I'll paint you this, I'll paint you that. But it didn't always translate into something creative. But the thing behind it is, I'm standing, because I ran C-stores for a long time, which is kind of, hard on the body and everything. You're going to have to pardon me looking away, because I'm looking at myself and I just want to start cracking up. I'm like, who sits and looks at themselves and talks to themselves? And I think this is why I kind of avoided YouTube altogether. No, I don't want to sit and look at myself. I love, taking pictures of other people, but taking pictures of myself, I don't even like other people to take pictures of me. So anyway, I'm trying to get back past the stupid point of it. But the gist of it is, even when sitting in a retail store, I knew I was selling other people's artworks, because those are brands. You got Snickers, you got Starburst in there, you got Bud in the cooler. I mean, all of them have marketing plans. All of them have art. Some artist at some point said, hey, this is the way it looks nice. This is what appeals to others. And even cleaning the art off. is contributing to, making something visually appealing. So, just building displays and all this stuff, and I got into all that, because I like being physical, which really worked with the photography. But getting back to just doing traditional art or just working on the computer wasn't working for me. I'm just like, I went to school for this, so for me to end up back at a C-store or doing something like that, I'm like, no, you know what, I went to school to learn all this tech, and people really still today aren't using it to its full advantage. I'm building a website, and I know people are going to come to it and look at it and go, she expects me to pay to be on her website. Yeah, I do, actually. Just like, I'll show you what I can do for free in a studio, portrait-wise, because I know I'm good at it. And I'll take your picture, and I'll do that for nothing. And then you're going to come back and look at it and go, well, wait a minute, I actually really want those. Can we print those up? How much does it cost? Blah, blah, blah. So I get how it translates in the real world, because I went and I just stopped what I was doing on my own, and I worked at the studio, and I talked to, interacted with customers and everything. I did it their way, and they were losing money because the internet was happening, so, everybody wanted to be a photographer. And then, I think we're to the point where people know, no, I don't take them as good as she did or he did, or wow, why is mine not look as good as theirs, so people are looking up, and still, you can teach people. I know this from training the district, that not everybody's cut out for what they're learning. So I'm real hesitant, do I want to get on here and teach? Because I trained the district. I was a training store. So, I was helping the regional manager when the district manager quit, and filling in and doing all this. And I'm really at a point, well, I can teach how to do this, but, do I want to? Because not everybody followed it when I hired them, and I actually paid them. So, and it was frustrating. So do I want to go through that through the internet, So I'm at a turning point. Do you guys really want me to teach you how to sell photography? Or, because there's a learning curve here still. I have all this education and in tech and all these mad art skills, and is it really, or should I just be working on my own art? Or both? Maybe I'll be able to fit both in. I really haven't shown much online except for the fractal art, and to me that's the simple stuff. The art pouring, you're just learning a technique. To me it's not, I don't know, I got about 12 of them sitting in there in my bedroom hanging on a wall, and to me I'm just, yeah, that technique worked, no, that one didn't, I need to work on this one. And to me they're not real full-blown paintings, or even the abstract fractal. I guess maybe I take it for granted, I don't know, but I did those, around what year, 2008ish, quite a while back, so I'm back to, I want to work on this other stuff, which is going to work best, because I put YouTube off for a long time, going, you just really cannot reach people as easily as you could. Do I even want to invest time in this? Because Facebook, to me, there are a few people that have looked at it, but it's usually after I meet them, here, you want to see what I can do, and that's the way the photo studio went. It was, their sales were down, and I raised them about $25,000. So what was working was basically making sure I had time to VIP and talking to people and and being confident about it. That's key. And being on the internet with the competition, even as much as I've went to school for it and everything, still not as confident as some of these others, and me kind of going, well, they're not really selling anything but presets. I can do that. Can you do that? I have my own. So, kind of just what's going to work. And what's going on is you're going to my website, and it is like this mass, here's all the traditional art I can do, and I'm portfolio building at 52 years old, and me going, how many portfolios do you need? I got one for photography, I've got one for, one for the traditional art, and here's my other creative stuff. And then I went, and I'm like, well, I got to get their attention on this social media, trying to make this work, and me just laughing about it at this point. So I made a meme for like every day of the year, inspirational quotes and all this stuff, which, that's fine, but you can't let social media like rule. And when I was doing the studio, I was working 10 to 12 hours a day, and when it really got busy right before Christmas, I had 16-hour days. I didn't really have time for social media. I was busy out there really making it. And so what I did is I set up a Facebook page like everybody recommends, and basically just like me on Facebook. But I already had my customers, is what I'm saying. So the Facebook page for that grew fairly quickly because I was showing off my customers. What do you do when you're getting on here and this is your only means of finding customers? If I get on here and go, you know what, come over to my house from Arizona and I live in Illinois, and I'll show you how great I am, you're going to be expecting like a $5,000 photo session, and me going, unless you pay $5,000 plus your own plane tickets, that's not going to happen. So how do you do photography on here? You do it like I was doing. You already have your customer base, and all you're doing is growing it and staying in touch with your customer. What I'm basically saying is social media and stuff like that should be enhancing what you already do. And I'm kind of out of I still take photography of my grandbabies and stuff, but I'm kind of out of the studio now. I kind of have my own little setup for me and them, and back to doing traditional art and putzing around doing things I've put off that I want to do. There's a artist on here that talked about these people, like the dream job is to work at Disney or something, or Nickelodeon, and some of them going, we all tried really hard to get in, we got in, we did all this work, and now we're all trying to figure out how to get time to go do what we want to do. One of them wrote a book and done really well, and me, I'm kind of in that same boat. I burnt myself out on that studio thing, and do I really want people visiting my home for me to take pictures, or do I really want to put myself in an insecure spot going to their home? Because you never know what you're going to walk into. Not all places are photographic. The way some people live, you're just like, and I don't want to hire a security guard to go with me, so, and I always had that in the studio. There were, I don't know, at least 3 to 5 different security people, plus I could always run out and ask the cashier, could you go get the manager, go get I need some help here, so, I went out, and what service did I use? Thumbtack. And I used it so I could pull in leads and, or do bids on photography that way. And I did it a few times, and I'm just like, I just don't know what I'm walking into. It's much easier for them to walk into a public studio our business space that is secured, and you know it's secure, and you know what time it's going to close, and they know it, versus working out of your home. So I've kind of put that off. I'll do some, but I'm more into the traditional art. So I'm back at looking at the internet going, well, I'm not just going to give stuff away for free, you know, and I've been saying that probably since my son was like 3 years old. I'm like, yeah, I worked on websites. I did this for free. I did that for free. I'm not doing it. You know, if you want me to do that, you're going to have to pay me. You know, and I'll sit and, you know, I sat when I was in the hospital kind of going, these are some really cool ideas for MTV, but, you know, how do you get a hold of them? I'm sure a lot of people think they have good ideas for MTV. So, you know, how do you make yourself stand out amongst the crowd is kind of where I'm at. And I think a lot of people are going through that as well. And, you know, when you know you have the talent and you know you can do all these different things, you know, how do you go about doing that without, you know, offending people? I knew how to do it in person, but, you know, it's a whole different breed. And even today, you know, how do you get somebody to go to your website? Well, even with the search engines, some book guy, even my name, you know, he has books. So when you search for my name, if you put it under images, my artwork will come up. But as far as the first page, and I'm like, you know, I fought that because when I took time off when I was raising my kids and I ran a daycare, and, you know, I practice the website stuff on the side and draw things for the kids to color and stuff like that, I'd kind of got burnt out on it then. I'm not doing it for nothing. You know, I stayed at the top of the search engines, which was hard because I was competing with other daycare mommies that are just stay-at-home moms that worked on it full time. And, you know, I went to school for it because I just kind of got fed up. Well, I'm not going to do this for nothing. I'll do it for my kids, you know, finish school and all that other stuff, but I'm just not into this working for free thing. And I don't think anybody should be. I think a lot of people are being taken advantage of, and people reaping money over the rest of us, you know, and it's the game. You know, you either have the skills or you don't. So that's where I'm going with this. I'm kind of wanting to know, do you guys want me to teach some of this? Because even some of the top end photographers that teach in some of the colleges aren't really teaching you how to go about actually making the money. They'll teach you the skills, but then again, there's people that's what they do. They just practice on their downtime, and they got a totally different job, and some of them are much better than you know, the ones that claim they know what they're doing and went to school for it. So, you know, you're just kind of, I reviewed a lecture when I was just like, yeah, everybody does need to kind of jump on this social media bandwagon. That was what, a decade ago now? I think we're all over it. We get that it can have an impact and it's important, but so is, you know, real contact with people. So I guess what I'm saying, there's a routine. Do you want me to teach that, or would you just want some speed videos of me doing some art? The other thing, you know, and I kind of have been on this, trying to tell other people about, you know, this starving artist thing. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but it's true. If you can't make a living doing it, and you're not quite sure how, like I'm at a point with it, I just kind of went through this, and I went to the hospital over it. I burnt myself out because what, you got to be on 10 different things, plus build your website, plus make videos now, and plus do the actual artwork. And you're just like, you know, I can keep up with a lot of stuff because I ran 24-hour stores, but I was like hitting exhaustion. So, you know, any tips you guys have, or think, you know, do you have a way to actually reach out to others that isn't, you don't want to be that guy, you know, the one that, hey, I am trying to sell you, you know, like the used car salesman kind of thing. I didn't approach, when I was VIPing, which is, you know, a very important person, you know, it's your customer. And I've always treated my customers really nice. How do you do this online without being annoying? I hated the people that would go, you know, you don't know them from Adam, and suddenly they're like, go visit my website. And I ain't visiting your website. It'll probably pop up a porno site, you know. You know, you get those IMs, and I think Facebook is kind of getting like that and really critical, and everybody, you know, some of the other social medias that it's just, okay, we're all over it, you know. Just kind of like we all got over, listen, I ain't got time to sit and talk to you for 12 hours that I could say in 5 minutes. I really don't, you know. And I am of the, I like things to be efficient. So me wasting a lot of time talking, you know, I can talk to doomsday and make small talk all you want, but I need feedback on what you really want to hear about, you know. And there's a part of me that's just kind of, maybe I'll just jump on there and do live videos, because, you know, I'm just kind of here to socialize at this point, you know, or, you know, pass on a few things that I know and tips, but I'm not going to sit around and, I don't know, you know. But the starving artist thing, I just kind of went through the, you know, if you've talked to me, which I don't talk to a lot of people online anymore. I don't know, maybe, I just, at one point, you know, figured it was kind of a time waster. It was something that I did with my regular customers. I would come home after I got off work from the studio on my own time, and I would post like the best pictures I did that day, or, you know, the ones that gave me consent to, and share them and go brag on them, because, you know, they're beautiful people. You know, they took a really good photo or whatever, and, you know, we turned out some really good work, and I would share that with the rest of the customers, and they seem to enjoy it. When you don't have that customer base anymore, it's been pulled out in front of you because the studio company that I worked for actually closed. What do? Well, you got to start over. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I went through this whole artist starving thing, literally. You know, I'm sitting here, and it's happened a couple of times that I got down to there's no food in the house, and, you know, I'm living on Social Security and semi-retired and kind of going, it's just not enough. So there's something, either I go back to doing photography or I start making this internet thing work. And I'm real curious about it. I mean, I see a few that have been successful, and I listen to them and go, yeah, good for you. I'm glad somebody did it. Because I'd been saying all along, you know, this really is going to create more jobs, and at some point, maybe we'll educate from home that way, or maybe there'll be more jobs from home. And one of the big things about me, you know, doing the daycare was I was real supportive. Yeah, you can still work at home and still spend time with your kids. You know, I may put in 10-hour days, but I'm putting in 10-hour days with my kids and other kids and watching them learn to socialize and everything else. So the thing about it is that, you know, I didn't always have time for art, even doing that, even though I was home, and then going into retail studio, I didn't always have time. So what I, like I said, post at night and share that way, and it was casual, and it wasn't pushy, and wasn't obnoxious. Just come see me when you got time. But it could be reinforced by, yeah, I'm gonna see them sometime in the next month. They're gonna, stop in at Walmart and say, hey, and I'd have little kids come up and give me hugs, and it was a really good job, and it really made me feel good about myself. But then you get to you're semi-retired, and you didn't want to retire to begin with, and living off less than what you're used to. So you start going, well, maybe I'll work on that internet thing. Maybe I'll actually really give YouTube a try now. Way past my timing's so off. It isn't. I should have been doing that at the beginning instead of the end, because I feel like YouTube's going more towards a television channel than it is, so much internet anymore. But it still works. But people, try and discourage artists from being artists because of the starving artist myth. Is it a myth? Not always. Sometimes that's the real reality, and I did just go through total burnout, and I landed my butt in the hospital because I wasn't eating enough, and I was out exercising and not paying attention to my thyroid. They found out that it was kind of elevated, and I may have some blood sugar thing going on, because they put me on medication for something that I don't have, and found out that I have all these allergic reactions to it. And I was going through a breast cancer scare, and the side effects from the medication actually made it worse. So, here I am thinking I might, and I went and had all these mammograms done, and then find out the medication that they're giving you that is supposed to be helping you for something that you keep telling them you don't have. I might be a little bipolar, and I have been diagnosed clinically depressed, after divorce. Who isn't, So they put me on this medication. I did. I had severe allergies to it, so I ended up in the hospital because it was still in my system. And it was actually making me kind of hallucinate a little bit. Not, because when I was younger, I did party. I tried things. Other people have tried things, but I know what a real hallucination is, and have done that. Don't think I'm like that now. We're talking my early 20s that I did the hippie skippy thing, and so I have the education enough behind it to know what that feels like, and they're giving me medication that actually makes me hallucinate, and I don't know I'm hallucinating. And the kids are like, Mom, I need you to go back to being the way you were. And I'm like, what? But it was like touching a very creative part of so I was having this like really creative experience, and journaling, I'm writing it down. I got like 60 different ideas for books, and comic, and this or that. That's what I did for the last 4 months in the hospital. There was nothing else to do. They didn't have TVs. You pretty much eat and sleep, and that's not enough for me. That's not enough stimulation to drive anybody crazy. And they kept trying to force this medication on me, and I won. So they changed the medicine. I'm not having the effects anymore, but the medication made me gain 70 pounds, which is pushing the blood sugar problem, and me going, you ever think maybe that's what it is? So, you could, I guess I'm picking a weird time to do the art career when I'm older. Usually people do this when they're younger, and there's a fear of not having security, or somebody thinking you're a bum. I take care of myself for the most part. I'm very independent. So the one fear that I've always had about being an artist is the starving artist thing. And here I'm living it, and me going, you know better than this. You really do. Because there are photographers that just, you try and train them and you teach them, this is how you make a sale, this is how you do this is how you get people, because they had rules. You couldn't have a day without a set. You have to have a session, or you're not trying. And I believe that. And there's a part of me that going, a day without, well, I haven't learned to take it. I had extreme fatigue going on. The medication was not helping that. So, but it's from getting up every day, kind of doing what the internet expects you to, is practice some form of your artwork. Well, I got like 50 different outlets for artwork now. So, my thing is I have to narrow it down and focus. And I know this, just like, in studio, I could tell you where you were failing. If you needed to work on the actual taking the picture, or you needed to work on your people skills, or your sales skills, or your VIPing skills. And I don't think the internet's much different than that, other than it's harder to approach. Well, it's too easy to approach the wrong way. Okay? And, there were people that they just weren't really good at approaching people face to face, but they're really good at sending you a text that is dude, don't talk to me. So I guess what I'm trying to whittle down is the right way to approach people to show them my artwork. I don't know that the algorithms or whatever help promote many artists anymore, is I guess what I'm saying. Because, I've shown art. And it's different. It's kind of unique. It's kind of out there. And to me, even, it was a phase. It's not something I'm still stuck in. I'm doing other kinds of art. So, I want people, other artists to know, you know what, you're not alone. That if I'm 52 and I did know how to make sales, I do know how to make sales in photography, and I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm struggling. And I know how it's done. And the right way to do it. So, I don't want anybody have it, because it does. It hits your self-esteem really hard. Like, you go from feeling like, kind of like you're a rock star in the studio, because everybody comes to see you and pays attention to you, and really likes what you're doing, and they tell you that. You get constant feedback when you're in studio that you're good at what you do. And the internet, not so much. Excuse me. Not so much. It's like that deadpan comedy thing. You're waiting for the applause, and the applause isn't coming. And I haven't really put enough out there to get that applause, and I know that. And it's the same way in studio. If you don't do enough of the work or show enough of the work to grab somebody's attention, then you're not going to sell something. So I know where I need to work on something. To me, it's just a matter of time. But I just don't want, I had somebody call me up when I was sick in the hospital screaming at me, you're crazy. You know what? I'm crazy because I got put on medication that I shouldn't be, because I said that, I'm an artist, I write, I do this, I do that, and I do. Video's proof of it. So do a lot of other people, and, it's getting minimized like we're all crazy because we're producing our own videos, or, showing people on social media. What do you expect? You expect us to sit here and do nothing? And go, yeah, I made it, doing nothing. No, there's effort that has to be put in. And at least I'm aware of that. I just don't want to be one of those people that approaches people obnoxiously the wrong way. And I don't think you should have to. I think sometimes, your artwork should stand on its own 2 feet. I mean, when I was doing photography, you can tell once somebody's got their feet under it because they're confident. Okay, it took me. First, let me explain the situation. I got hired as the manager, and the district manager quit within that first week. So I didn't get trained on like their cash registers or the website or some of the special software. And I was lucky that I had the tech behind me that it really wasn't that hard for me to learn, or I'd already learned some of it to begin with. So the first month I was like a duck out of water. I'm like trying to learn the register and what the rules are, and I had no help. I had a part-timer that would come in for maybe 4 hours a week or something like that. So I was just like dead tired too, learning all of it. And after the C-store thing, that was a cakewalk. I've been thrown into stores like that. So, it was just, I had to do the photography on top of it. And am I good enough? Because, people expect this, and this. So I had to like brush up on my photography and get really good at it. And about, by 6 months into it, I was really comfortable, and my sales were growing and everything else, because I would go home, I would study, I'd post on, to customers, on Facebook or whatever, and it would build sales. So by Christmas season, when it's really busy, it really, we couldn't keep up. It was that busy. It was just 2 of us. It's a smaller store. But it had big sales. So I'm kind of leery about getting on here to a certain degree, because I don't want to be overwhelmed like that. Like having more customers than I know what to do with. I mean, everybody thinks that's the ideal. Well, it's not, because if you can't keep up with them, then you're going to let a bunch of people down, and it's going to be bad word of mouth, and I don't want that either. So I've just kind of been struggling with the health issues and my art, kind of moving from one gear to the next, and it's kind of a starting over for me. But I don't want, that's my message to others. I don't want them to feel like, well, I'm never going to go anywhere, I'm never going to do anything. I kind of, with me, I was always doing business, and I couldn't connect the dots between selling art and business, but I was always big on business. So, they're both strong points to me, so it's not really hard for me to sell art. I brushed up on the skills, got really good at it, and, people walk in, well, let me show you this. Or here, sit here and let me show you the results in 15 minutes. You can't really do that with traditional art. Painting something takes a week to a month, or maybe longer, depending on the subject or what you're doing. So you're just kind of, well, I'll see you in 6 months when I get something done. And that's why I didn't jump on YouTube or make a big to-do out of my, I have a page, but I don't post to it. And I know you're supposed to get engagement, you need to post regularly. Well, I've been busy having health problems. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck like that, it's very hard for you not to end up in starving artist mode. And literally, that's what happened. And it's happened twice to me now since, I left like the security of a major studio. But you can get there. I can get there. I know I have the skills. It's just a matter of doing and improving it. It's just going to take a while. I don't want people to get so... I think even me knowing that I can do it, it's a confidence shaker. Dude, you're really good at this and you're not making any money, so what's going on? And you kind of go through the Van Gogh syndrome thing. I can't stand Van Gogh. His art's okay, but the idea of being a starving artist, I mean, I hate the idea of failing. And sometimes, you do something on a art piece and okay, that didn't work. Okay, now I know better, and you paint over it and you do something else. But, the idea of failing in business is something, it's just not acceptable to me. So I'm just kind of, I want others to know, yeah, I'm going through that, and some of this is just even a pep talk for me that you just hang in there, keep doing your work, and get in a habit of consistently showing it, and it'll come. And this, I know this, and I'm still going through some of the depression of dealing with it. Here I am, I'm talking to you, no makeup, and not getting dressed up or anything, but even people that have the talent go through some of this. And the other side of it is, not all artists or people that get online and try and use social media to show others what their business or what they're doing are crazy. Okay? I don't know what is going on in the mental health industry that they think that, you can't see all these people on YouTube that have been making videos. Maybe they're not that good at it. Some of them aren't. But that doesn't mean they're not trying to be, and you can't tell them there's something they're not. They're obviously doing it. So I got in this weird place on this medication that, they had to give me 2 different pills because I was having an allergic reaction to it. And I'm like, I'm going to get a lawyer. You're trying to kill me here. Or at least, because I was having a rash that was so bad that my skin was bleeding. And who's crazy here? It's not me. So, you really want to try and avoid that kind of stuff. If you are depressed, getting the part-time job somewhere else or the full-time somewhere else and doing it part-time when you get home is perfectly okay. Okay, so that way you're not worrying about your stability or getting stuck dealing with the starving artist thing. You need food, you need a roof over your head. And, my kids are grown, so, I don't mind taking a chance for it, because they are grown and they can take care of themselves. But I would have never, risked it all, when they were younger. I wouldn't have put, when I traveled, after the studio closed, I went and I worked for Lifetouch. Yeah, it was Lifetouch. And not the happiest situation there either. I mean, I was still blowing out sales and stuff, but they promise you the world and don't deliver. You told me I was going to be full-time, and full-time I can make this amount of money and this many customers you have lined up, and you don't. And I'm not slamming Lifetouch. Please don't get mad at me, Lifetouch. But it wasn't enough income, so this kind of ideally a part-time income through them and my Social Security, I would have been fine. And it just, it wasn't even providing a good part-time income by the time I traveled, spent time away from my kid with her mad at me. So you can really spiral into that, living paycheck to paycheck thing, just in this day and age just in a regular job. And like I said, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I am very honest about, an art career is not for everybody. And you might want to look into another career. I did. I couldn't depend on this, so I trained for it. Which did have some creative outlet. I'd done photography when I was younger, yearbook or something like that in high school, and didn't really expect to be a photographer. I expected to go into like marketing or something. Back in the 80s, everybody wanted to be a rock star. Hell, I just wanted to design the albums. Or, take the videos for MTV or something. So, what generation to generation want the big, I want that job kind of, in the creative field, they're not going to be there for everybody, and they're usually there for the best. I don't think I'm the best photographer in the world, but I'm definitely above average. My sales said it. So I still have the paperwork and the awards and, the congratulations, you hit, this out of 5,000 photographers. But I didn't, like I said, because of the worry of the starving artist thing, I didn't try this stunt until my kids were grown. And, I didn't get the photography job or the sales job until, I wasn't as worried about my kids. I'm not saying I wasn't, but two of them were grown and one of them was a little bit younger. So, if I let her stay at my sister's house and made sure she had a nice roof over her head and food, I wasn't feeling guilty as much as leaving her home alone by herself. I wouldn't do that to travel. So anyway, being on a limited income, I'm still kind of getting the do or die effect of the starving artist thing. And if I don't pick up a sale or two on a piece of art, then no, my gas and electric will stay on, but I might not have groceries, and that's just not acceptable either. And you have to think about these things when you're doing art. At some point you have to take a chance and actually get some done to show other people, and it's time consuming, and you're better off going at it if you can work another job and learn another skill that would go along. For some odd reason, because of the business aspect of my dad and, some of the people around me, business was respectable. And, I could do art at night, or when I wasn't so tired, helping the marketing and all that other stuff. So business was really important to me, and turned out that they were willing to hire somebody and train them on the sales part of it, that they already knew I had the art skills, that I picked that up. So what I'm saying is, because I trained in other avenues, in it and programming, and because I had an artist background and had the business background, had I not been doing all that management stuff, I wouldn't have got the job. Or, it wouldn't have been enough to pay my bills. So, I couldn't have survived with, 2 kids still at home and just work 2 days a week, And what I'm saying now is I'm like teetering on the edge. It's just, my daughter, she's kind of moving back in with me, but she's older, she has her own job, she has her own money, and, I can keep the gas and electric on, but I have to watch myself because of this diabetic thing, that, or glucose thing that, I have to eat, and I have to eat more than my budget could afford. And so it's getting more and more important that I sell my art. So I get it. You're not alone. We're all struggling on this thing. And we're all, going through. Yeah, it's supposed to enhance our lives. It's supposed to enhance our businesses. It's not supposed to be do all, be all. My life revolves around social media. I'm going to post stuff I do. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Most of the time, people do respond well to what I do. But, converting that into a sale is, you need to know what the person on the other side of you really needs. It was easy for me to go, everybody needs family photo, because everybody does. I mean, it's nice, that we can take all these, what I call photo shots of people on our phone, just like, instant cameras, but it's not the same as having a portrait. And I still think people need portraits, and if you've got the extra money, having something drawn or taken of your favorite pet, your animal, or whatever is important. You want to save those memories. So connecting with somebody on the internet and that coming across sincere, which it is for me, I've lost my grandma, I've lost my dad. I know how important it is to have more than one or two pictures of them. I think it's also important investing in art, because you have to identify with something, and you need to, when you walk into your home, you need something that says, this is me. Okay? And not all art is meant for walls, but if you really, want to say, hey, this is my place, this is my door, this is what I'm into, this is, I want it to feel light and breezy. Would you paint me something, like that? Or anyway, I'm not getting into all that today. I want to reach out to other artists on YouTube and say, I'm here. If you want to sit and chit chat, I can some, and discuss, toss around new ways, because I think some of these older ways that are on here that people are still reaching out don't work the way they did 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. So, how do you do it and not be I guess I'm asking a question of myself just as much as you are probably sitting and wanting to know, because nobody wants to be the starving artist sick in the hospital. I really don't. So I'm starting this kind of like my New Year's resolution that, I'm going to do one piece of art and I'm going to quit pressuring myself. Yeah, I'm going to do stuff that I want to do. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Maybe I'll pick up a part-time job to be that cushion, so I'm not sitting here, having to worry about groceries. It's a lot easier when you don't, but if you don't have that starving artist pressure on you, it seems like yourself. If you don't put that pressure on yourself, you won't get disciplined about practicing and do. When I sat up there, I had nothing to do but eat and sleep. And I took up journaling the first time I went. And so I could kind of figure out that it's when I started taking the medicine that I was starting to get this way. And it may be the wrong medicine and addressing the wrong problem. They didn't test my thyroid and some of this other stuff. And it's really wreaking havoc on my body. I felt like I had 10-ton weight sitting on top of me. And carrying around all this extra weight that I've been like maybe 20 pounds overweight my whole life, or sometimes 30, depending on, after I had the babies and stuff. but never this much. And me just kind of going, man, I'm miserable. You know, it's hard to produce anything when you just feel miserable. But I sat up there. They kind of put me on more of a stable diet, and I was starting to feel better, and then they gave me that old medication again, and it went right back to, I broke out in a rash, had all these problems, and you know, sitting here starting to get depressed because it's killing my creativity, you know, and got in touch with a lawyer. I mean, I had like 30 side effects or more, and breathing was one of them. I had an asthma attack 4 times because of this medication. So, you know, that doesn't make me crazy. So I'm addressing 2 different things here. The whole starving artist myth, and then you have the whole all artists are crazy myth. You know, you know, just because somebody's in a creative field doesn't make them crazy. You know, everybody kind of acts like when you're going through the starving artist thing, that you're going through the Van Gogh thing, so therefore you must be crazy. And I tell you the truth, I am actually really sick of the stereotypes. You know, I've been stable my whole life. I ran apartment buildings before I was even 18, painted construction, and, you know, managed that, then went into managing C-stores and getting business certificates and all this other stuff, plus continuing my education and going into programming, so I could at least build websites that were seemed creative. And, you know, I'm kind of just, dude, you know, this isn't okay that society treats artists this way, because art is on everything you use. I mean, I got, you know, even the font. Can you see the font? Certain fonts, you know, certain art things. You know, I got a color wheel sitting behind me. Just, you know, the Snicker bars. I mean, Three Musketeers, the commercial for it. It's all art. You know, and you guys kind of wave it off like, no, it's marketing. There's an art behind that. You know, why did they choose Three Musketeers instead of 2? You know, because of literature. You know, there's cultural things, art and culture, all about. I hate to romanticize a Snickers bar, but come on now. You know, they pick the font, they pick this, or these colors, so you relax when you eat them and enjoy them. And, you know, there's an art to chocolate and cooking. I mean, come on. We're in an explosion of this over creativity. And no, not everybody's good. Okay? Not everybody's going to be the best. But some of us are. And I'm not saying me. I'm saying I'm okay. You know, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself. But I'm good. I'm not terrible, I'll tell you that. You know, so I don't need somebody sitting around telling me I'm crazy because they put me on a medication that makes me hallucinate. And I had a relative call and scream that at me, and another act like I had the plague because of, you know, I'm kind of hitting the priority line here, and I never hit it before. And so, you know, it can make you crazy that you're not being productive. It can make you depressed. It doesn't necessarily make you bipolar or schizophrenic or anything like that, you know, but because I'm older, I'm having health issues, and they're not getting addressed because, you know, what do? I'm an artist. I'm a photographer. Oh, well, then you must be crazy because nobody needs a camera anymore. And this is like some of these people's general assumptions. Oh, well, we don't pay really? Because I know a lot of photographers that get paid. You know, and I know artists that, you know, they have real jobs. That's what they do. They get paid to entertain you. So I'm kind of wanted to address the elephant in the room. You know, have you had this experience? Has somebody tried to, act like there's no future in it for you when there is, and try and steer you off course? I mean, I kind of got that when I was younger, that no, you go get a backup job. You go get a backup career. And honestly, it didn't hurt me to have those skills because it got me into the job that I wanted creatively. So, what's your take on it? Are you going through it? Because I kind of just went through this depression thing and then came out of it kind of swinging. No, you're going to switch my medication because I have post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood, and now you depressed me. So, I don't think it's an ongoing situation. I think you put in the practice, you put in the work, and then, things will happen. And I'm in that, it's time to make things happen. I'm running around cleaning my house and rearranging things so I can be more productive. But I would like to hear from others. How have people gone at you about that? Do they treat you that way? Are you afraid of that? I mean, I was. Not the crazy part. I don't care. If somebody sits around and calls me crazy. I was a wild child when I was younger. I outgrew it. Get over it. But do you have this, some of us, security is important. So, does it play on your anxiety? I ended up, because I guess I grew up in an environment where, for some odd reason, even though we had money, we were always worried about money. So, I have some anxiety. I got asked for a medication that worked with anxiety, and I wanted a painkiller that didn't make me loopy or stupid, because as much as I was a wild child when I was younger, I don't want to sit around and sit in my living room and hallucinate, okay? It's just not cool. Or my kids think that I'm getting Alzheimer's or, dementia or something like that. I really, I don't know, they're treating me like I'm 70 when I'm, 52. It's ridiculous. What kind of struggles are you going through? I'd love to hear down in your comments about, what pulled you out of depression? What are you using for sales? How do you avoid this myth? I avoided it by learning two other skill sets. And I didn't exactly plan into going into photography. I was, I just knew I wanted something artistic, so, to me, it's just learning another skill set, just like you learn how to paint or draw this technique. So, yeah, give me a comment down below. Tell me what you're going through. Maybe we can share and, come up with some ideas. You can check me out on my webpage. It's artist-dana.com. You can kind of see what I'm putting together. I'm on Patreon, but I'm not completely ready to go full hilt with that yet. I'd rather get the website finished. And that may take 6 months, because I actually, what I'm doing is posting old art on top of trying to make new art. So I'm putting extra pressure on myself. But give me a like, or thumbs up, subscribe down there. Keep in touch, and let me know, what are you struggling with? And I'm out. See you on the flip side.